An old lake. It was a dark, gusty night. The lake water rippled with each haunting breeze of wind that grazed over its surface. There was an electric feeling in the air. Energy was stirring all around this area, waiting for some forces to interact with. The colorfully painted Volkswagen bus comes slowly and begins to park in a clearing between the trees and an opening near the water's edge. It's about time we made it, Margarita says as the door swings open and sleeping bags falling out immediately afterwards. The driver, Pierre, opens the back door. Smokey and Chet stumble out, legs sore from a long drive sitting in the back for over 2 hours. Along with Lucy and Dominic, aka Dorito, the gang has come here in search of a good place to camp for a few days during their spring break. After a late trip there and a couple-hour detour getting lost, they finally find a place to set up camp down by a beautiful lake. It was almost as if they were drawn there by some unseen force. I feel a weird vibe, Lucy says. I would know. I'm an Aquarius. They all continued unpacking. Soon after setting up camp, the gang decides to start a fire to warm up and roast some corn cobs that Margarita's father packed for her.
Corn on the cob is the only way to truly enjoy its potential.
Her father's voice echoed in her head as they prepared the fire. The gang built a slingshot to sling rocks into the lake and see how far they can get it. At the same time, Dorito was about to crack a punchline to his knock-knock joke when suddenly there was an especially cold gust of wind, bone-chilling, followed by a loud shriek that sounded like 10 puppies and a few squirrels got stepped on all at once. They all went silent for a minute. Then the Dorito forgot the punchline. They continued, finishing to build the fire. Maybe it's the ghost of the crazy old miner from those crazy old mining days who stole all those children from their bedrooms and ate their ears to gain super hearing powers, Smokey said jokingly. Nobody laughed. They never laugh at Smokey's jokes. Then they continued to roast their corn and eat it. And they soon forgot about that sound and enjoyed the moment of the night, eating corn with their friends. I know what we need right about now, Chet said with a cheesy grin. And he pulled out a marijuana reefer stick. Ew, Smokey proclaimed. You know I don't smoke. Chet looked toward him. Come on, man. It'll make you fly. As he began to light the doobie and pass it to Smokey. Well, I suppose just one puff wouldn't hurt, Smokey said. He took a puff, then immediately started coughing and fell to the ground and began shaking violently and profusely. They all gasped and gathered around Smokey. Then he went still. Pierre shouted at Chet. Why did you make him smoke, man? What was in it? Dude, I don't know. This is what I always took, Broham, Chet said. There was another shriek from across the lake. This time it sounded like Smokey's voice. They all jumped. They all looked back at Smokey's body, whose eyes began to start bleeding and rolling backwards in their sockets. They all screamed and moved back in horror as Smokey begins to sit up while his eyes are still leaking streams of blood from his face. He points towards the center of the lake and says in a spooky voice, This is where my master has been waiting so many years ago. The wind begins to pick up and the lake surface shakes violently. Something is coming from beneath the lake, and it emerges, the Loch Ness Monster. Ha ha ha, you fools! You have awoken me from my slumber! Then that marijuana cigarette broke the incantation that bound me to the bottom of this lake, and without any corn on the cob, my one weakness to stop me, I am free to litter the earth and kill everyone! Margarita fell to her knees and broke down in tears, sobbing. Why didn't I save a cob of corn? I let my father down. Now we're gonna die. When suddenly a giant knife pierced the back of Margarita's back. It was the ghost of the crazy old miner who ate all those kids' ears. Ears! He groaned as he removed the knife and began nibbling on Margarita's ears to death. The rest of the gang started running towards the van in fear, leaving the fire unmaintained, mind you. The Loch Ness Monster grew furious from them trying to escape, and he crushed the van underneath his huge flipper arm. And then he grabbed Chet, Pierre, and Lucy and pulled them under the lake's surface. They'll make fine underwater slaves, the Loch Ness Monster boasted to Dorito, the only remaining camper. Dorito was scared, frightened. He had peed himself twice by this point, but despite that, he noticed that Smokey had never finished his corn on the cob because of that marijuana cigarette. And it was lying right next to his body, who was still leaking blood out the eyes, pointing to the lake still. Dorito summoned all the courage that he had. He summoned extreme boldness, and he got a fiery log from out of the campfire and threw it on the Smokey's dead body, which began sizzling. And he grabbed the corn cob from his body, and the Loch Ness Monster noticed. Curse you! How dare you find corn on the cob? Dorito stood there, shaking and still wet from pee. But he was strong and said calmly, "This one's for Smokey." Then he ran towards the slingshot they had built earlier in the day with the corn cob in his hand, and he launched himself in the slingshot, propelling himself into the Loch Ness Monster's chest and making him explode, and they both died violently in the end. And that's what happened at the old lake.